time for another round of Brandy. Candid conversations over cocktails about all things brand. With your hosts, Reilly Newman and Scott Saunders, the brand developers behind Motif Brands.
Hello and welcome back to another round of Brandy.
Yes, another round. What are we going to talk about?
Well, with spring around the corner for many of us.
Spring, isn't it like spring equinox is like, is it March 20th, I think?
It's around there.
Yeah.
I think that's, yeah. Is that the official, is the
I think so
equinox
because the summer
official-
equinox starts like June 20th. I think it goes in like 3-month cycles and it's usually around the 20th. It varies by like one day or something, I think. Anyway, doesn't matter. But you know what? It's that time of year when I know, like for me at home, we start, my wife and I started looking at spring cleaning, and just you start wanting to just kind of, I don't know. It's like it's an annual cycle.
It's a purge.
It is. I think it is. I mean, well, obviously, like in your home, right? You've got like we'll clean the screens, we'll clean blinds. You try to stay on top of that, but at some point, you got to roll up the sleeves and really like, okay, we're going to pull out all the furniture. We're going to wipe down the baseboards. We're going to do all that.
Yeah.
And a lot of times, that's the time too when and personally, when you go, hey, do we want to rearrange the living room? Or what if we did the dining table this way? And that's the time when people are able to, I think, during the process of rolling up the sleeves, looking around and going, what needs deep cleaning, right? Yeah. Spring cleaning or refreshing or getting rid of, right? There's a lot of people go through their garage and start having a yard sale. They start purging stuff. That's the time when we're focusing and it's a time for evaluation.
Yeah. And looking at going, okay, what's working, what's not working? Okay, the junk drawer in the kitchen, that thing needs to get cleaned out. The system's not working. It's broken because we have to clean that thing out.
It's like our Tupperware cupboard, because you're always washing Tupperware lids, and then you put it, and unless it's good. It's like every couple of weeks,
and every time then you organize it, and then it starts avalanching.
I'll hear my wife go and I'm the one that does the dishes and put away the dishes. So I know that when her like exasperation of trying to find the right lid for this Tupperware, that she got one and it all comes crashing down. That's probably on me.
That's my complaint about Tupperware. Why isn't no one's invented a better organization method? And for some reason, Tupperware doesn't dry. When you wash it, the plastic just holds on. It's like, it's 2025.
But recently,
how does Tupperware not dry?
We switched to the glass ones that have like their snap lids.
Oh yeah,
and I don't like those because they don't stack.
Oh yeah,
you can't stack the glass ones. The plastic ones at least are made so that you could, the lids can all stack and then
they snap together.
Yeah, it's a nightmare. Anyway, we digress, but let's get back on track because if we're talking about spring cleaning, and obviously we talk about brand here on this show. I think it's a good time, right? There's analysis of spring cleaning your brand, your business.
100%.
What does that look like?
Yeah, and usually, if you've worked with us. And when clients do work with us, we go through like an audit, we go through discovery, we go through these very fundamental steps beforehand. And this is very similar to that, where you should be doing this regularly. Like you should be looking at your brand and taking a self-audit, kind of going internally and externally, looking at it and going, okay, what's working, what's not working, what needs to be subtracted, how do I pivot from here, what kind of moves do I need to make, and kind of just trying to see where the mess could be, what systems are working or aren't working. And really this looks at like, yes, the business side of things, the operations, but also on the brand side going, am I where I'm trying to go as a brand and how I wish to be perceived?
Yeah.
Am I going that way? Or is that gap only widening? And even though I'm trying, I'm spinning my wheels and I'm busy, but that gap is only getting bigger.
It's also that you're not so focused on running the business that you're so busy, that you're not able to pull your head out of the water and look around to take that time to do that. Because I think a lot of businesses they just become this autopilot, and unless it's winding down, needs to be rewound, you just let it go. But a lot of times, if you've seen a wind up toy, a lot of times they run around, they hop around in circles, or they don't go in a straight line. They kind of they meander sometimes.
I feel like that's a really good point, because it's also reviewing our mindset and going, my approach, or maybe some theories you have about business or your brand or how you're going about it, do those need to be do you need to spring clean some of those thoughts or those preconceived notions you have of, this is how business is done. This is how my brand needs to act. This is how we need to market. And even we've had clients where they want to expand who they're selling to, and they're going, okay, we need to do more social media, even though they may be a high-end brand, and it doesn't make sense for them because most of their their audience are repeat customers who are coming back, who are already loyal. And so spending time and money looking down these avenues of doing things just because, oh, it's a given. Everyone's doing TikTok. Everyone's doing Instagram. It doesn't make sense. And so I think spring cleaning, yes, the actual systems of the brand and the identity, the different touch points, the customer journey, but also looking at kind of, navel gazing a bit of going, what are my thoughts on business and a brand and how we're approaching that? Even marketing, it's like you may have a really great idea, but you've always discounted it because you go, no, that's no one else has done that. That's too off the wall.
That's too out of the box. Yeah. Well, and a lot of it too. And when we talk about doing like this kind of self-evaluation, right? An audit is there's really if you've read our book Brandy, then you'll know that there's really, we talk about like two components of it. There's the external audit and there's the internal audit. And the external audit is really focusing on your market, the consumer, your maybe your specific audience, or more in general, just consumer behavior, which over time has proven to always be kind of sometimes sporadic, ever changing, ever evolving. And that's why, because if a business gets locked in going, hey, sales are good, right? Like putting it in cruise control and holding it for a couple years, next thing you know, they are going to have to be in a very reactionary process, reactionary state, because there's been some drastic changes in the market. Classic example was, back before 2020 when franchises like Chipotle or Starbucks and other things were really focusing more on delivery solutions and online orders and almost like touches. They started realizing the popularity of delivery and all that stuff, and they started shifting their models. And then, the pandemic hit and COVID hit, and all of a sudden, all these restaurants were having to scramble to even try to work out something, how to do pickup or how to do delivery or whatever. And there's a couple brands that survived really well because they saw the writing on the wall ahead of time, right? And they pivoted. Yeah. And so because consumer behavior is always changing based on whims a lot of times too, right? What is a fad? What's popular? So I think that external audit as well as an internal audit. Yep. And that encompasses a little more varying degrees of how you go about self-analysis, right, Reilly?
Yeah, and I really do think it, like Scott was saying, it's like looking at the market and looking at going, okay, where are things going? It's kind of like that hockey player.
Wayne Gretzky?
Yeah, with the skate where the puck's going. And it's the same thing with business, where it's like you're taking a pulse, you're watching these things, and even the Starbucks and Chipotle example of pickup and delivery, it's like that was, the writing was on the wall. I remember it was 2018 or 2019. I was in a Starbucks and I actually asked a barista, and I was like, what percentage of your orders are, mobile? And he's like, probably like 25-30%. I remember at that time being very, very surprised. Now you look at it, it seems like it's almost complete opposite, where now mobile is like 80%.
Yeah.
But they, obviously with urbanization and things like that, where you do have doing DoorDash, doing mobile order delivery does make sense in urban environments where it's like the parking is either expensive or it just is a hassle. So you did have these trends happening and these brands are catching on, and then 2020, happened, and that just kind of aligned and worked for them. So it was like they weren't lucky as much as they were prepared for this shift, and then whatever 2020 just catalyzed that. But really looking at your business and your brand, going, okay, how might my market be changing? How is my consumer? Are they buying differently? Or how we're selling, is that meeting how they are buying? Because how someone buys is going to change over time. It's only natural, and technology is only going to keep pushing that, especially when we start looking down the path and going, okay, with where AI is going, you're going to have AI agents who are doing ordering on behalf of humans. So how is the brand going to really either beat the AI agent to the punch and sell to the human so they can tell their AI to do it, or how are we going to accommodate for AI?
Yeah, like in the last episode, you brought up Rabbit, which was like the thing. It was like it's almost where you're like, kind of like if you took the extent of like with iPhone and Siri, and you basically say, "Hey Siri, I want you to find me the cheapest thing and make a reservation, and then purchase this and have it delivered by in 2 weeks." We're getting to the point now where everything is going to be AI driven and assisted, and all that simple one command to your AI controlled smartphone, and all of a sudden, all the other steps that you used to take are now obliterated. So how is your business shifting to this new model of how people are how consumers are operating.
Yeah, and it's not a matter of like, okay, you need to stay up to date on every single technological advancement. You need to know everything about AI. But it's like just being somewhat aware is that even in the industry, it's like they're talking about not only B2C, B2B, and some of these classic things, but now it's like it's A to A, which is agent to agent, where you're going to have AI interacting with AI, performing orders and performing tasks and doing that. So then how does business evolve around that really? But anyways, those are big ideas, and but they are happening. That's what you do have to realize as a business. Like you do have these currents under the water that are happening with technology. But as you're spring cleaning, it's like going, okay, how am I doing as a small business, right? How are we actually going to leverage some of these things to help benefit our business and our customers, but also with where our customers going and the market, how are we going to actually lean into and have the brand provide more value? Because as you're doing this, it's like you're only adding more advantage to your business. That's really like the point of it, is like you're going to help protect your business, because as you're going through these thoughts and spring cleaning and preparing yourself to really springboard into like the next era, it's like how can we keep adding value and meet our audience where they want to be met and address their needs and their desires, and just kind of keep building on that. It's like that's what you should be doing. And like Scott said, it's like it's not about just being stagnant and being comfortable and going, the business is running.
Put it in cruise control. Yeah. And I think too, to note is like even things like when you're doing what we consider more the internal, like you're looking at behind the curtain, right? Your business. And because that is part of your brand, because we've talked about how your brand is more than just what the customers see, but it's part of what the customers experience. So interacting with your employees, which is a heavy component of running a business, on some level, your employees, your staff are interacting with your audience. Yeah. And take a pulse of your company culture. That is a reflection of your external brand as perceived by the consumers. Because when your external brand is like doing good and your consumers love you and your brand's good, your employees love working and being associated with the brand. They love being part of something great. And so a good pulse is if you don't have a lot of enthusiasm within your business, small, medium business, whatever, if morale's down, that could be a symptom of an aging or poorly executed brand image. And that's something to be mindful of is that how is the company culture? How is the inside of the house, right? It's going to help better the outside of the house. The more you focus inside, that will be a reflection. So your company culture, right? The attitude of your employees, the happiness of them, it goes beyond just how much you're paying them and how well you go, hey, good job, guys. It's also a reflection of your external. And that's kind of what we're talking about is that brand spring cleaning. It's twofold. Taking a pulse of your customers and taking a pulse internally.
Yeah. And sometimes, you have to make hard decisions and really, I believe to multiply, you have to subtract. And I think business is really the science of that. Of yes, we always hear the term scale and grow and do all these things and add on and just add more services, more products and just exponentially blow up. But to me, it's like it's almost opposite, where adding leads to division, where at a certain point the system's going to break. There's diminishing returns. And then on the other hand of that, it's like as you subtract and refine your focus, you have more control and it's more deliberate of an experience, but also you're able to then multiply really the value of it. And so like Scott was saying, it's like if you have an employee who's just not happy, it's not a good fit, you sometimes do have to make the hard decision of going, hey, this isn't a good fit. Like they're either representing the brand extremely poorly and don't care. And really it's like you can only pull so many levers to make someone care, versus going, okay, I can help them by, kind of releasing them and allowing them to go find something that they actually do care about and they don't hate their life. and then also that's going to help the business overall with the health of it. And it's like there are just hard decisions. And even like a good example of that is, I guess, Liquid Death was pushing international markets because they've dominated here in the US. They're pushing out soda now, they're expanding, but they were having really, really hard time in international markets, and especially like UK. And they've made the hard decision to go, okay, we're cutting all that off. No more international markets. We are doing just domestic. We're doing just U.S. And it's a very deliberate decision, but based off of, some of this self-analysis of going, okay, yes, that is a business move to think about. We need to expand internationally. We need to sell this beyond, right? There's more market. We need to get it.
Yeah.
And
which
as a brand,
side note on that. You're talking, I'm thinking, going, why didn't it fare well in the UK? Because to me, I'm not. Liquid Death is a great brand that's to bring up in context for illustrations purposes, because it is so. Its demographic is very narrow. It's not a wide open brand. It appeals to a very specific type of person that's into that style.
Yeah.
That's into that kind of packaging. That's into that kind of attitude. It's almost like almost like a punk. It's like the punk rocker of water,
it's like
and now they're getting certain
water.
other things. Right. But what I find is that like that's not just an American, that demographic, that narrow lane isn't just an American demographic, right? That type of person, that type of audience is all over the place. I would think that, like Germany and London, UK, and obviously certain countries may not as much, but there's certainly ones that I think. So to me, it is kind of surprising that they aren't faring well. And I'm curious, upon further investigation, I'd be curious to find out, what are some of the factors behind that? Was it specifically the way they're particularly marketing it, or how are their distribution channels, or something? But it's interesting. But anyway, they're staying lean and mean, and I think that's where, like to Reilly's point, that a lot of businesses want to diversify, right, rather than specialize. Yeah. And when you specialize, you're able to focus more intently.
Yeah, and it's like to the point of focusing. It's like you have to subtract to be able to grow, and you have to shed the old to get to where you're trying to go and where you should be. It's like you have to shed the old, because just like the old saying, like what got you here won't get you there. Yeah, and it's like a snake losing its skin, where the snake is growing, and as gross as that is it called mulching when they do that?
Yeah.
Ugh,
yeah,
that's so gross. But
it's actually very. I've had a couple snakes in the past. My boys we got some snakes when my boys were younger, and so I've been through that. But even though I was the one that had to feed it all the time, they didn't want to get near it for that. But
mulched?
It's very. No, I didn't mulch, but I meant like watching, and the process is
it's pretty crazy.
It's pretty cool. It's like, okay, God, you did a cool thing here.
I guess humans are always mulching. We're always losing dead skin.
Yeah, we do. Geez, we just don't want to talk about it.
But the growth of the snake is it can't stay in this. Like it has to shed that. It has to lose that to be able to grow.
Isn't it the same with a hermit crab? As it grows, it has to find a new shell, a new home to then allow it to grow. A fishbowl and a fish, right?
Yeah.
And so even like going back to the spring clean, when you were talking about purging to get more, if you're a car lover, right? You have a 2-car garage and you want to get a second car, but the other half of the garage is filled with just junk and crap that you've been holding on to for years. Yeah. Getting rid of half of that stuff is freeing up. Like you said, in order to multiply, you have to subtract. You have to get rid of some stuff and streamline and trim fat, right? And get lean as a company, as a business. You'll be healthier for it in the long run.
Well, and this is the second part of this is that, yes, you spring clean, and then that's going to enable you to then have a springboard. You're going to have a foundation to then be able to excel, to have a catalyst and go from there. And just kind of like, I like the hermit crab, because it is when they trade shells, when they go, okay, I need to find a new home, I'm growing, that's actually the most vulnerable time, is when they leave that shell to go find a new one, is that they are...
Every seagull's going, mine.
They are open for the killing. And really, it's like during that time of growth. But, the trade-off, though, is that sure, they're exposed and they're very vulnerable. But once they get to that new shell, they're able to then springboard and grow and achieve.
Move to the next level.
Yeah. And so it's like,
level up.
As much as you may be a hermit in your business, but thinking like a hermit crab, where it's like, okay, yes, this spring cleaning, it can be vulnerable. It can be you're looking at yourself, you're trying to go, okay, how can I refine this, make it better? You do have to make hard decisions. You have to be deliberate. but that's going to set you up for further success down the road by being able to springboard.
What we've been talking about this whole time with spring cleaning and analysis and making hard decisions sometimes, it can be a time of uncertainty for sure, especially if you're listening, you're a business owner that is just like you doing it on your own and you're trying to make something happen, and every decision you make, you're either second guessing or questioning or even fearful of taking some of those steps maybe you need to take. Reach out to people that do this more often, and not. And obviously, I'm leaning on us, but I mean, people like us. Okay, people like Motif. Seek out a consultation, right? Seek out. In other words, what we're talking about is some stuff that's going to be crucial for your business. It's mandatory for your brand, but a lot of times, many of you probably feel like you're in it alone. Yeah. And because the one thing you don't want to do in all this, and we've talked about this a lot, is you don't want to look at what everyone else around you is doing and just mirror what they're doing, because that's not specific to you, your brand, your business, your audience. And that's where you end up following the herd and not breaking away from the herd and being distinctive as a brand to allow you to, like Reilly said, springboard to that next level as a business.
Yeah. And I think it's just, again, being able to check up on yourself, do a quick audit, internal, external, and then look at, okay, how does this apply to the market and where it's going? And really, like to Scott's point, it's being unique and distinct is focusing on your strengths and going, okay, if the market's doing this, the consumers are starting to do this, or they're still doing this, or whatever it could be. It's like then aligning that with your strengths and what makes you special, rather than going, well, everyone else is now selling this, I need to add that on, or I need to do this now, or we need to do, more social media, or whatever it be. It's like, no, being distinct and focusing on who you are. And just like liquid death, it's like sometimes that does come down to, X-ing an entire market
share, yeah.
and going, no, we're just going to focus. And really, in my experience, that is being focused and deliberate always pays dividends in the long run. Sure, it might take some patience, but that's really where the big payoff is.
Yeah.
Right. Thank you for tuning in of this episode of Brandy.
Yeah.
Again, if this resonated with you, please feel free to share this episode with someone who you think would enjoy this, especially with spring right around the corner. Or if you'd like, you can check out our book, Brandy, and that is available on Amazon or pretty much anywhere else you can search.
Just Google it.
But until next time,
Cheers.
cheers.